This jet was born in the Cold War, built a ridiculous kill record, then everyone kind of moved on. But in 2024, its newest version proved it could hold its own against fifth-generation style threats in tests. How is a 1970s jet doing that? If you want to know why this old jet still matters, you've got to rewind to the late 60s and early 70s. On paper, the US Air Force looked unbeatable. Over Vietnam, it didn't. The F-4 Phantom II had all the specs, fast, loud, packed with missiles, but in tight turns it bled speed, felt heavy, and struggled in close-range fights where cannons still decided who went home. When your top dog keeps losing fights, it was supposed to win. You don't just bruise your ego, you start losing pilots. That's when the Air Force dropped the idea of quick fixes and decided it needed one thing only: a fighter built purely to own the sky. That's where the FX program came in. Big contractors threw in designs, NASA came in as the airflow expert, and instead of wasting years on endless prototypes, the Air Force said, "Build the real thing." In July 1972, that real thing took off: the F-15 Eagle. It wasn't trying to be a bomb truck or carrier toy. It was a Predator. 2 big engines, a lifting wing, a serious radar in the nose, and a cockpit built so the pilot could spot you, make a decision, and fire before you even realized you were in danger. If you're on the wrong side of that, what exactly is your plan? The clever part wasn't just the muscle, it was the brain. The F-15's radar ran on a programmable processor, so you could upgrade how it worked with software instead of ripping out hardware every time threats changed. Normal today, huge back then. That approach became the model for how modern jets get their upgrades. Add external fuel tanks and the Eagle could cross regions, cruise fast without wasting fuel, and still arrive ready to fight. Over time, that turned into one of the wildest records in aviation. More than 100 air-to-air kills and not a single Eagle lost in air-to-air combat. If someone shrugs and asks, "Yeah, but does it actually win fights?" 104-0 is your answer. Jump to the 2010s and everything changed. The F-22, the stealth heir to the Eagle, had its production cut off under 200 jets. The F-35 took over budgets and headlines, but came with high costs and delays, and it wasn't going to replace every aging fighter on schedule. At the same time, China rolled out the J-20, Russia pushed upgraded flankers and new stealth projects, and long-range missiles spread across the map. The big question stopped being, what's the coolest jet we can design, and became, how do we get enough good jets in the air fast without blowing up the budget? Boeing's solution didn't start in the US at all, it started in Qatar. While America was stressing over expensive stealth programs, Boeing was building a high-end F-15 for the Qatari Air Force with modern avionics, digital flight controls, and an open mission system setup. It looked like a familiar Eagle on the ramp, but the cockpit and systems were completely modern. The Air Force took one look and said, "Why design something new when this already works?" That export jet became the base for what would become the F-15EX Eagle II, approved in 2019, with the first 8 jets ordered in 2020 and deliveries kicking off a couple of years later. Underneath, this isn't a museum piece. The airframe is reinforced, the wings are redesigned, and it's built to fly around 20,000 hours, about twice what the older F-15Cs were designed for. New F110 engines give it serious thrust even when it's carrying a heavy load. The old analog controls are replaced with digital fly-by-wire, so it flies smoother and stays stable even when you're pulling hard turns with uneven weapons hanging off the wings. Pilots put it simply, it still feels like an Eagle, it's still very fast, but now, when you're low and heavy, it feels steady instead of sketchy. And if you're flying into a real fight, isn't that exactly what you want? That tougher frame isn't just so the jet lives to a nice old age, it's so it can carry a stupid amount of stuff. The old Eagles had to be careful about how much weight they hung out on the wings. The F-15EX? Not so much. With a reinforced structure and fly-by-wire, it can sling around roughly 15 tons of weapons, with hardpoints all over the place. So instead of needing one jet for escort and another for strike, you can have one Eagle II roll in, loaded with missiles, bombs, and long-range toys at the same time. Why send 3 jets when one can do the job? That's why people call it a weapons truck. Modern air combat isn't about who can pull the craziest turn, it's about who can throw the most problems at the enemy from far away. This thing can stack long-range missiles, close-in missiles, small precision bombs, cruise missiles for hardened targets, and radar-killing weapons all on one loadout. And if you need to lug something huge, a bunker buster or a big cruise missile, the Eagle just hangs it under the wing and goes. No stealth beta baby, no drama. If you're planning a real fight, wouldn't you rather have the jet that shows up already packed? Hypersonic weapons are basically the "you're not escaping this" missiles. They fly at ridiculous speeds, at least 5 times the speed of sound, and they're huge. We're talking around 20 feet long and weighing tons. There's no stuffing that comfortably inside a small stealth fighter's internal bay. So jets like the F-15EX end up carrying these monsters. It was built with the size, wiring, and hardpoints to sling these big missiles under its wings. The play is simple. The Eagle II cruises in safe airspace, well outside the danger zone, fires a hypersonic missile, and lets the missile handle the risky part. If you're planning a fight across the Pacific, wouldn't you want a jet that can hit from that far away? Now, being a flying weapons rack is cool, but only if you can actually see what you're shooting at. That's where the F-15EX's brain and eyes come in. Up front, it's got a modern AESA radar that paints a sharp picture of the sky and tracks multiple targets far out. Behind that, there's a crazy fast mission computer that pulls in everything: radar returns, threat warnings, other sensors, and turns it into one clear view for the crew. No juggling screens, no guessing. In a real fight, who would you rather be? The pilot trying to piece things together, or the one who already has the whole battle laid out on a single display? Think of the F-15EX flying around with built-in paranoia, in a good way. Wrapped around the jet is a system called EPAWSS that's always awake, listening for enemy radars and signals. The second someone lights you up, it figures out where they are and tells the jet how to react, jam them, dodge them, or spit out countermeasures. If it hears something new mid-mission, it doesn't panic, it adapts. Add an infrared search and track pod, and now the Eagle II can quietly spot other aircraft, even stealthy ones, just by their heat and shape. All of that shows up on big screens in a modern helmet, where the pilot can literally look at a target and tell the jet, "That one." In that kind of sky, you really don't want to be the one getting tracked. Behind those screens, the wiring is built for the future, not the museum. Old fighters were like glued-shut gadgets. Want a new weapon or sensor? Prepare for months of rewiring. The F-15EX is more like a gaming PC. You can slot in new software, sensors, even drone wingmen, and bring them online much faster, because the whole system was designed to accept upgrades. The same style of architecture is going into the B-21 and next-gen fighters, which means this airframe isn't just flying missions, it's also helping test the tech those jets will use later. So while it's out there loaded with missiles today, it's quietly shaping tomorrow's air war. How many fighters get to be the veteran and the future at the same time? Here's where the story stops being marketing and starts being real. The Pentagon's independent test office took the F-15EX out and tried to break it. Full combat-style trials, no friendly grading. At the end, they stamped it effective for the jobs that actually matter, going out to smash enemy fighters, guarding friendly airspace, swatting cruise missiles, and babysitting high-value assets. Buried in the report was the fun part. In drills against surrogate 5th-gen opponents, the Eagle II detected and engaged them at long range and lived to tell the story. It didn't suddenly turn stealthy, but it proved that with a brutal radar, long-range missiles, and serious jamming, this classic shape can play in a fight everyone thought was 5th-gen only. If you're in a planning room, that has to mess with your assumptions a little, right? Then you look at how often it's actually ready to fly. While some newer stealth jets are still drama queens in the hangar, the F-15EX test fleet showed up more often than expected. In normal words, more jets were up, loaded, and good to go on any random day, without ground crews having to perform miracles every night. That's what commanders care about in a real crisis. You don't launch what looks coolest on a poster. You launch what's sitting on the ramp with fuel and weapons. Pilots liked it too. Big clean displays, smooth fly-by-wire, and this weird feeling that you're flying an Eagle on the outside and a much newer fighter on the inside. If you're the one strapping in, which vibe would you rather have? Meanwhile, the Air Force quietly showed you where it plans to use this thing. The first jets went to Air National Guard squadrons defending U.S. airspace, swapping out tired F-15Cs while keeping the same bases, tools, and maintainers. No giant rebuild, just a big upgrade. Across the Pacific, early F-15EX started appearing at Kadena in Japan, exactly where you'd want long-range missile-heavy fighters staring down China. And back in St. Louis, the line is spinning up to push out new airframes at a steady pace instead of a trickle. So if the future looks rough and you need real numbers in the sky, you can see why this jet suddenly looks very attractive. Here's where it gets very future of air combat. The Air Force isn't thinking about one jet versus one jet anymore. It's thinking about teams. Loyal wingman drones are unmanned jets that fly with a main fighter, heading into the dangerous areas with extra sensors and weapons. The F-15EX is set up to run that team. It has strong onboard computers, big screens, and a second seat for someone who just manages the drones. The pilot flies and makes the big calls. The backseater tells the unmanned jets where to go and what to hit. So instead of asking, what can one fighter do? You start asking, what can one fighter plus 4 robots do? In a real war, that matters most after the first punch. Stealth jets slip in early, knock out radar and key defenses. Once that's done, you still need something that can show up with a lot of firepower and keep flying day after day. That's the F-15EX. It brings long range, a heavy weapons load, and the reliability to stay in the fight without living in the hangar. So when the battle stretches from days into weeks, that's the jet that keeps the pressure on. There's a money and math side to this story that people forget. When the F-22 line shut down, that was it. No more Raptors. The next-gen NGAD jets are going to be even more expensive, so you'll only get a small, very protected club of them. So what do you fly everywhere else? That's where the F-15EX quietly wins. It's built on a line that already works, it's ordered in bigger numbers, and it gives the Air Force something you can't fake on a PowerPoint slide: lots of real loaded jets ready to go. In a world where other countries are cranking out fighters and missile batteries like phone chargers, the US needs more than just a handful of exotic prototypes. It needs volume and staying power. And that's why the 1970s jet beats new fighters headline doesn't mean physics broke. It means age isn't the main story. The F-15's basic shape turned out to be insanely upgradable. Swap in new engines, stronger wings, modern computers, fresh radar, plug it into the network, and you've basically rebooted the jet without losing what made it scary to begin with. That's the F-15EX Eagle II in a sentence. It looks like the Cold War from far away. But it fights like a 21st century machine. Software updates, constant data links, long-range weapons, and one simple rule. If you can see the enemy first and fire from farther out, do you really care that your jet was born in the 70s? Think of this instead of a movie-style dogfight. It's just before sunrise somewhere over the Pacific. An F-15EX Eagle II is sitting on the ramp, fuel tanks bolted on, pylons packed, 2 crew climbing into the cockpit half awake, half wired. Out over the ocean, a tanker is already circling. Stealth jets have gone in first to poke holes in enemy defenses, and a few unmanned wingmen are loitering at the edge of radar range, waiting for orders. The Eagle II takes off, slots into the formation, and starts the long cruise. Hours later, near a tense island chain, targeting data starts flowing in over secure links. Threat radars pop up on the screens, the crew tweak their route, weapons come off the rails, and then the jet swings back toward the tanker to grab more fuel and head for the next job. No swirling dogfight, no Fox 2 hero moment, but isn't this what real 21st century air combat actually looks like? And that's where this old jet makes sense. The original F-15 was built to win air battles. Over time, it picked up bombing, long-range patrols, and pretty much every job the Air Force could throw at it. In the Eagle II, it's been flipped again into something new, a fast missile hauler and a flying command seat that plugs straight into the networked fight. It can fly far, carry a huge load, and still has the space and electronics to bolt on whatever comes next. New missiles, new pods, even teams of drones. If you're planning for a real war, what matters more? The fanciest jet on paper or the one you can buy in numbers and keep in the air every day? Until someone builds something cheaper, tougher, and more flexible that can haul that much firepower across that much distance, this 1970s fighter isn't a relic. It's the muscle you call when the stealth guys are done kicking the door in. If clear, no-nonsense breakdowns like this on the latest weapons help you make sense of the headlines. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.